Lori, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much.
Lori, for the viewers who are not familiar, tell me what Z Street is.
Z Street is an educational organization whose mission is to provide accurate information about Israel in particular and the Middle East in general.
All right. In 2009, the organization filed for 501c3, which is a charitable status. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That would allow donations made to your organization to be deducted, like any other charity that has that status.
That's right.
All right. What happened to your 2009 application? Have you gotten that charitable deduction status yet?
No, we didn't. The IRS put our application on hold.
Why?
Because we had the temerity to sue the IRS for what we believe was viewpoint discrimination.
What was the viewpoint discrimination that you believe the IRS has against your organization?
Well, let me tell you what happened. After we filed in late December of 2009, by that summer, we hadn't yet received word about whether we were going forward. The agent assigned to our file told our lawyer that the reason it was being held up was because the IRS had to give special scrutiny to organizations connected to Israel. The IRS agent also told our lawyer that some of those organizations were going to be sent to a special unit in Washington to determine whether the organization's positions contradict those of the administration's. At that point, we knew that is classic viewpoint discrimination, and we knew we had to bring in action. So we brought a lawsuit against the IRS, Z Street versus Douglas Schulman, who was the commissioner of the IRS. After we filed our lawsuit, the IRS began having several different positions on why it was taking so long. One of which was because terrorism happens in Israel. Therefore, they had to look into our organization because they thought we might be funding terrorism. We're a purely educational entity. We didn't fund anybody. We barely funded ourselves. So,
all right, let me ask a couple quick questions about them, just yes or no. Has anyone in your group ever been arrested for terrorism?
No.
Have your assets been frozen any time in your organization as it might be connected to terrorism?
No.
Has anyone ever accused your organization in the United States, the U.S. government, of being a terrorist organization?
No.
Is there anyone, any place in the world that has accused your organization of being a terrorist organization?
Not that I know of.
So your suit is still pending. You still, since December of 2009, don't have a charitable deduction status. Do you know what is sort of the routine time period? How much does it usually take most organizations, not perhaps one unrelated to Israel, to get charitable deduction status?
Well, our lawyer at the time said it would probably take between 5 and 10 months. So she started making phone calls about 8 months after or 7 months after we had filed.
Why do you think that well, go ahead.
The IRS told us after we sued them that they were going to put our application on hold because we were litigating about the status of our application when, in fact, we were litigating about the constitutionality of the process that the IRS was using.
All right. The United States has a very warm relationship with Israel. We're allies. I'm curious why you think your organization, for whatever your viewpoint, why would your organization be singled out? As there are a lot of organizations that deal with Israel in this country. Okay,
so good question. The answer, I think, possibly, and this is just conjecture on my part, Z Street is an organization that supports all of Israel, and there are those who believe that any organization that perhaps supports the idea that the Jewish state has a right to exist in Judea and Samaria is inappropriate. That there was a lawsuit a number of years ago, you may be familiar with Bob Jones University. And in that case, the United States decided that Bob Jones University was not entitled to tax-exempt status because of racial discrimination. The United States of America has, for a very long time, held a very firm position against racial discrimination. They've passed constitutional amendments and many laws about it. There is no law in the United States that says you can't support the idea that Jews can live and breathe beyond what's called Green Line Israel.
Lori, thank you very much. We'll continue to follow your case. I understand that there's a hearing coming up in July, so we will follow it.
Thank you so much.